Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Morning Market Movers, where we do live analysis for day trading and take a look at hot spots for the markets today, Tuesday, May 10th. My name is Todd Rich. I am with Nadex. With me, Brian Caprice from Keep Trading Simple. What are we looking at today? Today is what we're going to call reversal day. The markets have been getting hammered. The equities markets have been getting hammered the last 3 days. Sell, sell. Everything's been at. Uh, what we're seeing today is a bit of a pause for the moment, and we're seeing reversals. We're seeing equities up, bouncing back after yesterday's sell-off yet again. We're seeing energies reversing a little bit. We're even seeing a little bit of reversals in the pound over in the FX markets. Uh, and if we are going to be covering cryptocurrencies more as Nadex gets ready, we'll eventually launch some crypto product. And if you haven't been paying attention with what's going on in Bitcoin's been getting sold. We've got the story around that. It's a challenge where Tether, it's supposed to be a stable coin, and the chain that operates around Tether, they produce the Luna coin. Tether is supposed to be algorithmically tied and pegged to $1, and it decoupled. As that decoupled, the only thing they've got to stabilize it, they own billions of dollars of Bitcoin, and they would have to sell those Bitcoin in order to stabilize that, which impacts the Luna coin. It shows you how integrated these all are, but we'll cover more of that eventually when we've got some crypto product on the Nadex platform, because we do know that that's coming, and we will be including those. But for today, we're going to focus on equities, the reversal, the energies, definitely in oil and nat gas. Whew. Nat gas finally seeing a little bit of a reprieve. And over in FX. Before we jump over, I've got to figure out where I'm doing here. Before we jump into it, I do need to share this disclaimer that trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for everyone. That any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. And this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We are doing this for your education purposes. All right, so Brian, I'm going to flip it over to you. We can take a look at some of the headlines. I know a lot of it's the headlines are around
Yep.
inflation numbers that we're going to get tomorrow, and then concerns around what's going on in China with here we come with another wave of COVID.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, we just got this, I guess, surprise release that just got popped on as Yellen speaking. Her statement has already been published on there, and she believes that the U.S. financial system is in working order. Again, sure, if, I guess she doesn't understand inflation or what it does and its damages.
well,
Um,
it's in working order. It's just we got problems,
yeah,
but it's
yeah.
still in working
And then we
order.
have Waller and Messer speaking later on today. So, as you mentioned, yeah, everything is in reversal. Yesterday we had very strong pound days. Today it's very weak. We know where that data is coming from. They actually had a retail sales monitor kind of come in today, and UK shoppers have officially, and again, it's a great quote. Shoppers have put on the brakes on spending due to a surge in cost of living. The quote in here about from the chief executive officer the chief executive of British Retail Consortium, BRC, said the rising cost of living has crushed consumer demand and put the brakes on consumer spending. Data fell for the first time. This is the first time in 15 months that consumer confidence has dropped down to a problem level. So it just kind of goes back to show you that yeah, it is real. We're already starting to see consumer confidence kind of rattled here as well. As I mentioned, the UK is 4 raises in. Their inflation is still out of control. It's still not really controlled. They're still not at neutral yet. With 4 raises, it's the same as ours, but now consumer confidence is spending. And again, what they're doing is saying it's getting too expensive. And like I said, just simple things, like gallon of apple juice, or I guess not a gallon, a half gallon, or whatever it
Yeah,
is. But
it's a lot, but yeah, a
yeah,
box of apple
99
juice
cents
or
to 2.15. I mean, that's a big difference, and for households, it'll make a huge difference when food products are
yeah,
double the price. So
yeah.
we're seeing in the UK, it's probably what's going to roll over to here. Besides that, we do have a couple other, Williams from the Fed, the right tools of our time. Again, I don't fully agree with what the Fed is doing, so we'll see. Yesterday was, some of the was Victory Day in Russia. Not had nothing to do with the Ukraine. It's obviously a historical date for them. We did see some comments from China just a little while ago. These are kind of just came out minutes ago. Man, China is playing this game, right? China is on Ukraine. We must guard against confrontation between blocs. Meeting with they agree that parties should assist Ukraine and Russia in reestablishing peace through dialogue. Hopes that here's where it's juicy. Hopes France, as rotating presidency of EU, will play active role in promoting China and EU ties. I hope France will encourage the EU to have a better understanding of China, meet China halfway, and work out differences. So what they're saying is, let us steal the intellectual property without giving us our time about it, and then we're good. Is basically what this. It's like okay, yeah, understand China. Okay, sure. So that's it's funny how they're playing the game. They still won't condemn Russia, but they're like, hey, listen, we should encourage them for peace talks, and I hope that you'll work with us even more than we did before. Yeah. So interesting data out of China, and again, they find the best pictures for these things. So that's kind of it. The UAE oil energy minister basically saying the oil market is balanced. There's no need to pump more. This is something that we've seen, and again, extreme volatility is not because of supply and demand. It's because some of us don't want to buy certain crudes. And I could have said this before, that the way that the OPEC Plus is going to look at this is, listen, we're not taking a political stance in this. We are going to look at the demand, and we are going to look at the supply that's being produced and adjust accordingly. They have said multiple times, we will not get involved in politics. And this is kind of what they're reaffirming again. It's great, Europe, that you don't want to buy Russian oil, but as far as the global oil production, it has to be included as far as what they're concerned. So this is where there's going to be a very new situation going forward. And again, it says, I wouldn't expect anything else, and I'd be happy with keeping oil prices over $100. So, I mean, it's directly feeding into them. And again, OPEC had lost all its power. And, I mean, everybody that produces it. I mean, Kramer last week had, God, who was it? It was the smaller, like Pioneer or something like that. They're like blowing it out. They gave like $2 billion back to shareholders. They're just killing it.
Energy companies are blowing. Yeah,
it's a small. It was a U.S. energy company, and they were just killing it. Kramer was all over. I think it's like Pioneer or something like that. Anyway, his comments were very interesting. He's like, the United States needs to make sure that they don't turn OPEC into it. He's like, they need to work with them. And this is a U.S. company that's making billions, saying they need to work with OPEC. They do not need to be adversarial with OPEC. They need to be sending people over there and smoothing relations with OPEC. And I was like, wow, that's kind of bold for a U.S. company making billions of dollars, saying, hey, listen, you need to go to them and work this out. So, yeah, I mean, this is what it is. We've given them back all the power, and now we're going to have to pay the price. And yeah, $100 would be great, but if all of a sudden they say, you know what, we don't want Russian oil, others may be able to get it cheaper, but they're going to have to pay twice as much, there, and it's going to get carried over, and it's going to get messy. It's going to get real messy. So, anyway,
as far as go to the,
let's
go to the charts. Let's take a look.
Yeah, basically everything is just a reversal from where we were yesterday. The VIX yesterday was up 10%. It's down 5% today. So, understandably so. All the indices are in the green right now. Yesterday, we had this nice little opening pullback coming down. You're going to adjust things back again, and we're kind of approaching that same level. So, again, if there's going to be any type of selling today, we do have an area coming up, at least in the ES. We had talked about targets of 39.65. We got to 39.61. So again, targets were crushed yesterday in the ES. Just be cautious. We are at the 23.6. There was areas here. This is the old area they were using. We used it as a buy before, and then it was yesterday's sell. And it literally right at 9:30 yesterday, we talked about how we had a pullback to that zone, the nice little Harry Potter confirmation, and again, went all the way down to profit. NQ. Again, NQ, we talked about 208. We're looking for kind of somewhat of a confirmation bounce. It ended up kind of balancing in a little bit, and then like really late at night, it just peaked its head through the bottom, and that became the base. I mean, again, the profit target was the black line. We ended up crushing through that. It is rallying back a little bit more. I mean, if we run the fibs down on this one, you can see we are also the 23. There's a little bit there, but it's a very, very sloppy zone. On this one, I would say look for any type of reversal up at 12,650. Again, that's a gap. That's an area where it's probably going to be the profit target for this morning, at least, as this is rallying higher. YM, similar scenario. We talked about 3,200. I'm sorry, 32,000 being the kind of the target / reversal. It literally came down and it went to 31,980, and that was the reversal. I mean, with a very, very choppy morning, that's where the reversal was kind of right on that number. So running it down, you can see this profit target was hit. We talked about basically the Globex high and low. Actually, let me pull that back. We talked about the trap yesterday. Here's an example of what the trap looks like. Selling comes in when people box off this, this again, it's a very one of these strategies like, oh, this is what you got to do. It's a secret strategy, right? Nobody knows this, right? Here was the Globex low. A lot of future sellers will look to sell that in the overnight, saying, oh, look at that. We've broken the overnight trends. You see what happened here immediately within a half hour? It spiked all the way back up again, went right back up to the open. Everybody that was trading this basic strategy, it's kind of like, hey, listen, this is an easy trap, but people continue to fall for it. They find it on YouTube and like, that's it, right? This is exactly what happened. And then again, it still ended up lower for the day. But the question is, was their account able to sustain this much of a pullback? And then it came down and it turned again and actually went even a little bit higher. At that point, it's technically, by definitions, it's two higher highs in a row and higher lows. You're in an uptrend. Do you want to be short a futures contract in the YM? No, not really. And all of a sudden, once they're like, okay, we're out. And then that's when it finally collapsed down when retail traders were out. So again, this is just simple manipulation. Again, where it turned, we kind of talked about it. And then Russell right now is kind of in like the second most strong position. We'd also talked about yesterday a target being down here at 1761. It hit it once, it hit it again, it kind of based through, and then really late night, it finally kind of pierced through the bottom side of it. Again, the zone did okay. We mentioned about getting a good confirmation off of it. It's going slowly off of it. At this point, if we run all the way down, you can see that the 23.6 is also in that same level that we used for the pullback yesterday. That number is sitting approximately around 1795. So, if we're going to see a reversal this morning, that's probably where it would come in. I mean, really, the Europeans have done nothing but send it higher. In regards to that as well, I mean, oil yesterday was kind of getting beat up. Today, it's up 0.27, not huge, but again, it's still floating above that, and we actually did take a bounce in the overnight right off of that level here as of 6 o'clock. So, oil's got some, it's got some, I hate to say that oil's cheap right now at 103, but again, it has the ability. Yeah, I mean, if we run back up to the 50% retracement level, which I think it's going to have a little bit harder over time because we do have a level sitting here that is confirmed. I think if anything, if oil reverses back down today, 104.19 would be where it reverses, sit right on that old profit target. But there's nothing really sitting at the 105.83. That's the 50% retracement. There could be an argument made that, hey, listen, if we get all the way up to this purple line, which is a 61.8, there are some sellers up there. That's up at 107.27. So we were talking about, $100 oil earlier today. We're already up to 103. We're up 3%. It's a 3% move. We could potentially get back up to 107 with any type of bad news, right? So, 104.19 is one. Natural gas, actually taking it on the chops pretty good. We talked about where reversals are. We actually jumped over the gap. It actually bounced a little bit off the gap. But right now, look at this. This is like, we should party at this point. I mean, we are back down at 650. We were at $9, and now we're down at 650. So, I mean, if there was and there is, but not to the same extent. If there was an OPEC of natural gas, they'd be going crazy right now, like screaming price stabilization. So, we talked about $6.85 as a target. It actually ended up bouncing off of that target and then smashing through it the second time. So, target hit here, ended up coming through, and again, bouncing off this next limit right here, right? That one bounced off, and then we're lower. Whoops, I don't want to move that whole thing. Right now, I would say the next target is down here at $6.30, and really, we don't even have buying coming. Oops, I moved that too much. We don't even have any buying coming until $5.90. So it's like, wow, do we move another 60 cents on the downside of this one? Could we? I mean, that would be amazing if we got that low. That's, man, you may actually start, having people fill up their tanks again. If we stay that way, right?
Now that we're coming out of spring.
yeah. I mean, the snow flurries are gone for at least the next 4 days, so we could be good. But one thing I will point out about this, people are always saying, get in the pullbacks, get in the pullbacks, get in the pullbacks. And again, fibs are a very popular tool for that. And again, the 23.6 tends to be the really popular one. If we were to find a bottom right now because of the U.S. session starting up, there is a level where we saw some basing and then it kind of accelerated through. It's easy. You can kind of see it really getting stuck in that area from 4 o'clock till really the European session open. So it is kind of off-peak hours for it, but it did kind of stabilize where this box. I'll turn it red. It also happens to be where the 23.6 is. So it could be a potential area, $7.02, where if it does pull back up again, we could have sellers kind of coming back in because it was stabilized there and it did finally push through it. So, there's that. Gold and silver, we talked about anytime it goes up, sell it. I mean, they're both reversing from yesterday, but they're also kind of both up at the 23.6 now in this overall push back down again. The dollar is kind of holding. It's slightly red, 0.06. So, I mean, again, gold's kind of like, all right, what are we doing? What are we doing, right? gold and silver kind of both in that same level. And I mentioned yesterday that we had some buyers down here at that 2170. It came back down, it found them, popped, found them again. So, you know, really not tons there. And then the only other big one would be the pound yen. You can see that it's down 170 right now. And again, we know why. This is, right now in the United States, the one big surprise is like, listen, inflation's going crazy, but people are still spending right now. We know that people have changed their spending habits, but once people stop spending, again, that's what we have to look forward to, and that's kind of what the pound yen is
Yeah,
looking
that
at right now, where you know,
put us into recession, put everyone back into recession mode.
yeah, where we mentioned
Um,
160 was the big one, and we kind of came down late last night and popped, and they were like, no, 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 when that data came out and really just kind of crushed it to the downside. So, we were going to mark this at 160. You can see it's a little bit higher than the 50, but I think the pound has the ability to fall more. The more people that start talking about this consumer confidence and the less spending and kind of where things are moving in the future. And again, if the UK says we don't want Russian oil either, these are things that are also going to drive up costs. So I think I've been a bull for the pound for a long time, but I think at this point it's probably a good opportunity to find some ability to kind of get short at this point. So
all right.
yeah, that's it.
Well, that's what we got for today. And then remember that tomorrow we do get the CPI number.
We'll be on 12 today too.
So,
right.
Oh, and you know what? I
Tuesday.
totally forgot. Yeah, you know what? I will.
This
I
Tuesday will
will.
be in 3 hours.
You're right. In fact, if I can grab that right now, I thank you
Yeah,
for
we'll
reminding
we'll
me
break everything down
on
and we'll
that.
figure out. Yellen is testifying. She does have a statement out. Um, but she is testifying. So we'll see if we can get any kind of surprise. Surprise comments, quotes. We'll see.
Right. So I completely forgot. So we'll be back in 3 hours, and I'm having computer problems, so I'm gonna have to solve those before the next 3 hours. Um, if you're not registered, I just dropped the link into the chat. Please register. We'll be back 3 hours. It'll be a full blown session. Digest where we've gone so far today, and then also what to look forward to the rest of the week. With that, any questions for Nadex, please email us customerservice@nadex.com. Brian and I are also accessible. If you want to email Brian, please feel free to email him support@keeptradingsimple.com. And a quick recap of what we've got going on for today. It's reversal day, and equities bouncing after the sell-off that we've had for the last few days. We've seen that gas down, actually backing off. So there is some volatility in the markets. There is opportunity. Join us again in 3 hours. If you're not able to join, the session will be recorded. So if you register, you'll get access to the recorded link. Otherwise, we will be back tomorrow morning. And until then, good luck in the markets, everyone.